Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And Josh.
And we decided we were going to go back to the 70s and check out a film that has spiked our interest before on the old list, but neither one of us have seen it. And that is 1976's Aces High. And, you know, I really thought for the longest time that the Iron Maiden song Aces High was based off this movie. It made total sense, like planes, British, you know, all that stuff coming together, you know.
Checking all the boxes.
Yeah, the time period, you know, it's like, in a sense, you know, this movie's only like, you know, maybe 6 years or so before that song. Maybe that song actually might be a little bit, it might be late 80s now that I think about it, but whatever. And then I was kind of looking it up. I was like, oh, no. It's about a World War II pilot instead. So, yeah, not connected exactly. But so it's a little bit of a bummer. Like, I don't know why. Like, that trivia was like, oh, that's really this whole time I've been wanting to see this movie because I thought it was an Iron Maiden song and it's going to be all like tied into here and it's going to make that song make even more sense and so on, you know. And now I'm confused because there's a movie called Hangar 18 that I always see pop up on Prime that's like in the 80s. And I'm like,
Megadeth?
Yes, exactly. That's what I think. I'm like, hey, that's probably where they got it. They probably were watching that movie like, oh, we should write like a badass song about that. But now I'm like, maybe it's not about that movie anymore.
Right. Good thing though. Aces High not being, you know, the song based on this movie. Still a great movie.
Oh, dude, this movie
very much enjoyed it.
So good. It was one of those ones where I was way more impressed with it than I even thought it was. I thought it was going to be like, okay, it's going to be cool.
100%.
It's World War One, which you really don't get enough World War One movies. Like that's
right.
It's such a strange, and even same with video games and all that kind of stuff. I think World War One, I mean WW2, that's the big one. That's the one that, you know, you have a treasure trove of different stories and tales and so on, and almost to the point where
it's got the fun super nemesis Hitler.
Yeah, it's literally got your ultimate like villain of all time. You know what I mean? Better than a Lex Luthor, better than a Joker. You literally have a guy who like holds all that, who almost probably in the longest run is gonna feel like he's fake. But you're like, no, that's literally what he is. Like, because he almost has become like a cartoon character of himself, which makes you even wonder. It's like, is that even the same guy? You know what I mean? Like, has he changed over time? You know, is it like Genghis Khan and whatnot like that nobody really actually has a whole lot of like idea what the hell that guy even looked like or anything like that? You know,
right?
So you have
there is not enough World War One, and Aces High does it really well in the sense that like whenever you have these period piece like military films, like what are the things you always look for? At least for me, it's the fucking uniforms. It's the set pieces, like, because each battlefield and like each theater of war had like their own feel, right? Mm-hmm. And I loved the set pieces that they used for where the pilots lived. You know, they're far enough away from the front, but it's still near the front. It's 10 miles away from the front lines of the Western Front. Yeah. So it's a bombed out building. It's dilapidated. You know, there's nothing nice out there. The poor fucking mechanics live in tents while the officers are drinking with like a grand piano.
Yeah, exactly. They got all this stuff. They're like, you know what? Just make those mechanics go work all night long. We're going to be in here drinking and partying. We're going to be like sorority girls. We're going to have a pillow fight.
Yeah. What the fuck? Only the British Air Force would have a pillow fight.
Yeah, where they get on top of each other's shoulders too, just to really top it off. They're two steps away. That they could have been all naked, like the only reason I say is because like in The Hobbit, when like they're taking a bath at the elf pond or whatever, and they're all naked fighting each other.
Right. Dude, that's one thing. If I had to give a critique on this movie, and you know me, like I don't hate the Brits, but British movies sometimes irk me or rub me the wrong way. I don't know what it was. It's like silly little zesty theater like motions. Like what's the main commander's name? Gresham?
Yes, I believe.
In the beginning of the film.
Malcolm McDowell's character, pretty much. Yeah, he's the main star of this. Right.
So he has like, you know, he's being moody, right? Because they're getting replacements. And you know, that's another positive for this movie. They really captured replacements in World War One, where people just died by the fucking hundreds of thousands. Yeah. You know, your replacements came and went because they didn't fucking survive. But
I would say that's the interesting thing about this movie is this movie does the thing like at first you don't pay any attention. It just says day one, okay, whatever. But the whole theme of it is like this is pretty much a week, and we're gonna show you what it's like in a week of like kind of what it goes through.
Don't give it away yet.
I'm not gonna give it away yet because that's just an interesting thing though. Is it runs this sort of style, and we'll lead to that because by the time it's all said and done, you're like, wow, that's fucking super interesting how that goes.
It made the movie great. Mm-hmm. That aspect of it, I was like, holy shit. Like, usually movies from the 70s don't leave me like sitting there and I like ponder about it for a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that part was awesome. But anyways, back to what I was saying. The little weird things that they do, like the singing of songs where they're all together. I'm sure they probably did that, but I don't know. It had like a weird little like zesty British, like, you know, you could see it on stage, you know what I mean? And they start doing like a dancing number before the pillow fight.
Well, I will tell you this movie, they did a play version of it first.
Okay, all right. Well, that explains it.
I just gotta say this. I don't know how interesting a play version it is without the planes.
They're just like running around with like cardboard boxes as airplanes, like
going through the audience. It's like, oh, it's like it's 3D.
I don't know, chops. there's the horn on our wing.
They get pulled up by like cables and float across the audience. Be like,
right. But the weird little piano like sing-songy parts, which were kind of strange. It wasn't completely out of place. I was able to still stay within the time period and be like, well, what the fuck else are they going to do? All they have are record players.
And those aren't cheap back then. You know what I mean? You got to be kind of rich to have one. So yeah, you just slap a little piano in there and whatnot, and everybody gets drunk and sings songs. And I feel like, you're just singing, pretty much like sea shanty type stuff. And
I was thinking that too. Yeah. It fit for the movie. It was a little strange. The pillow fight was the strangest part, but
yeah, the pillow fight and whatnot, yeah, for sure. But no, as it does kind of capture it well. I mean, like the movie even just starts off right. You already get action right off the bat. It's already just showing
immediately
dogfight, and the plane scenes are excellent. They literally have these cool replica World War I planes that they all made for this and everything like that, just like right to spec. So that's like the cool. It looks good. They look accurate. They fly accurate and so on like that. And
all the equipment.
Yeah, all the equipment in there.
The motorcycles, the cars, the artillery pieces, everything was spot on looking. Yeah, they felt very authentic.
And then the thing that makes World War I so interesting for like the flight parts too, and this right here, I want to say it takes place in 1917. So it's like the pinnacle part of like when the aviation's really like at its fullest in World War I. But the fact when you really think about it, these planes have only been around for like 20 years. Like that's as long as anybody's been flying, and realistically, like all these guys here only learned how to fly like literally like in the last couple months. And the funny thing is all the new recruits come in, and the thing is how many hours of flight do you have so far? And our young lad who comes here, he answers with 14 hours, and that was the most common thing. That was like people mostly only had 10 to 15 hours before they sent them like on a mission. Like, and that's right. I mean, I guess back in the day too. Also, a plane was kind of like a motorcycle. In a sense, it's not like it had all these complicated Microsoft Flight Simulator controls going on here or anything like that. You get in, you're like, well, there's your throttle, there's your stick, there's the machine gun, if you want to throw a grenade, you just manually chuck it out the side.
All right, so I looked it up. The first air flight by the Wright brothers was 1903, and the Wright Model B was 1910.
God, that's really God, for some reason, I in my mind I was thinking it was like 1893 or something like that, but I guess it's 1903. Jesus. These planes are so brand new.
Right. So they went from airplanes basically being used, and huge shout out to Dan Carlin, the OG podcast history guy.
Yeah, his World War I one is super good. That six-parter, fucking love that one.
Yeah, dude, it's one of the greatest things ever. What is it called? Blueprint for Armageddon.
Yeah,
right?
That's the one.
Yeah. basically being spotters for artillery, flying around in your little like single prop plane, just like, oh, look at them down there. Dropping hand grenades like here and there, maybe like not doing much to, some crazy person's like, let's mount a machine gun on this bitch.
Well, and then the other one too is there's the dude that invented that, like the machine gun that could shoot between the propeller and everything like that, which I always it probably is, at the end of the day was just like a math equation that you just had to kind of get right. But the fact is, like,
timing.
Yeah, it's all the timing and everything like that. But just the whole idea that like they were able to come up with that so quick, be like, yeah, this thing blasts through there, and cause, the first few guys flying that were like, so you're saying it's not going to just blow the propeller off, right? I'm going to be up there. Right. We got one propeller on this thing, and if it's gone, it's gone.
I ain't got no parachute.
Yeah, because apparently the British don't want to give it to me. There's a scene. It's a little bit like about the middle of the movie, because Malcolm McDowell goes and he asks these like high up British guys, and he's all like, "Hey, so what about those parachutes that you were promising us to have?" And the guy's like, "Well, let's see here. We thought about it, and if you had parachutes, that might give you a reason to jump ship. So forget about it. You'll be fine."
You chaps will fight harder if you don't have any lifeline.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. He's like, I don't want you bailing out on, whatever, I don't know, however much a plane cost back in the day. But like, you know what I mean? He's like, no, that's government property there. You fly that till you die there, lad.
Well, that's what they did so well in this movie. Like right off the bat, they captured the rampant alcoholism.
Yep.
Horrific shell shock and PTSD. What was his name? Like, the dude who would never go out to fly.
Yeah, he kind of looks like David Bowie.
Yeah, right.
That was
not Croft. Croft was the young kid.
Yeah, well, it's weird because Crawford. So Simon Ward's the actor, and Crawford was the guy who was just like, I'm never going out there again. He's like, I don't care,
right.
He's like one of those ones. If he's like, he even has a scene that's like, it's a little bit later on, but he's like, if I ever got out of here, I would never return. He literally has that. He's got like that catch-22 kind of feeling where like he's just like. He's just trying to get out of it no matter what. He's, faking sicknesses that don't actually exist and so on.
Right. Like he invites him to town. The young kid invites him to go to town to have drinks. And he was like, they won't let me go to town. If I go to town, I'll never come back.
Yeah, that's it. He's like, I'll get shot first.
Right. But I mean, they captured that. He has that PTSD scene where he's wigging out in his bed. And for some reason, this poor fucking tortured pilot is sleeping under a bunch of like, blown up and like just destroyed airplane parts, like, super glued to his ceiling.
So yeah, you kind of wonder if that's causing a lot of traumatic.
Oh, just looking up at like a bloody propeller and it's like fucked up.
Just part of a wing.
Yeah. It's all filled with bullet holes.
You just got like an old pilot's like, hat up there and so on like that. Be like, he really loved that hat, but now he's dead.
Right. Dude. They did such a good job on that. And like making you invested in some of the characters, the older pilot with the cane.
Yes.
Who takes the young kid out on the motorcycle. Which was, at first, I was like, is he going to fuck him? What's going on here? These dudes are having a picnic.
Yeah. It's like, that's Christopher Plummer, too. And he does, because it's weird, because it's funny, because Malcolm McDowell, the whole movie, he's kind of like the ass, in a sense. But he's mean. He has a reason, but he is like mean as fuck. And like, there's this cheerful young lad who's just like a big smile on his face. He can't wait to fly.
King and country.
Yes. He's been sold on all the propaganda and whatnot. And just Malcolm McDowell's just everything that this kind of kid does. It's like he does wrong. You know what?
Well, he knows the inevitable. What's most likely going to happen. Like if anyone listening to this, most likely you've probably seen Band of Brothers. If you haven't, correct yourself. Watch that fucking miniseries. But the episode titled Replacements.
Yeah.
It's the same shit. Like replacements come in because dudes get wounded or they die. And these young kids get thrown in with very little training, 14 hours on the stick. And everyone knows just looking at him like, oh, fucking fresh meat walking.
Yep. And here we go. And so on like that. So it's like, in a sense, Malcolm McDowell, but at first, you just kind of see it in the movie and you're like, God, he's just yelling at this kid. Everything this kid does is wrong. The kid goes on his first mission or whatnot like that. And then he gets lost on the way back. He has to land
awesome.
and he has to ask these artillery guys. And I just feel so bad because these artillery guys are out there in the fucking mud, like pushing a fucking cannon out of it, like the mud.
Right.
And he's like, oh, hey, you fellas know where the base is or whatnot? And he goes like, oh, let me see it. Oh, I wrote down there. There you go. Hey, lads, spin this plane around for him real quick. And they're just like, whatever, fucking stupid mud. Push this fucking plane. And guy can't even find his fucking way back. Because I always feel like those artillery guys are probably like, fuck those Air Force guys back then. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why don't you come fucking down here? Like, look at we're
Maybe
fucking dealing with right now. Yeah,
I wonder that makes me want to look that up because I don't know. World War One's just so weird.
Well, the weirdest thing about it is because there's so much stuff coming together all at once, and I think that's what makes it so interesting. Is because people are still fighting wars like it's the 1800s, but now you have all this radical new technology and inventions,
right?
Industrial revolution stuff, It's that thing where it's like, they thought like in the 1800s, like, we figured out how to make war civilized, It's just like a giant game of chess, I mean, it sucks to be the peasant up there in the front, but beyond that, though, that's how we do our battles. And then now it's all like, and now we have nerve gas and machine guns and giant explosives, and people are digging trenches.
Barbed wire.
Yeah, barbed wire. We got those fucking knives that have like the 3 blades in them so that you can't seal that wound up, there's just so much stuff going on, and planes being one of the other big new things really throw, because first you're like, probably the first time someone's like, the fuck is that coming by there? It's just like, oh yeah, here comes this plane, and somebody strapped a machine gun on it and some grenades.
Dude, the opening dogfight scene where Gresham downs the Germans. Yes. And that one German's just running through the field, and he like keeps flying over him like he's gonna strafe him.
Yeah.
Dude, terrifying. Like, just imagine being that German, just like, oh fuck, I can't get away.
Well, there's that, and then is that the same scene too where Malcolm McDowell, he lands the plane and he acts like he's dead, and whatnot, and then the Germans land, they're like, oh, we're gonna go fucking we're gonna go murk this guy right in his fucking plane, you know what I mean? Right. And then the second that they turn their plane off and start running on over, he shoots on off.
Yeah, wipes him out.
Yep. Just takes him out.
The dogfights are fucking awesome.
They're so good.
They're really good.
And these are always the things, like, this is what makes older movies always so much kind of better, because I always feel like, not saying you can't have stuff like this still. Somebody can. I mean, you have Top Gun Maverick that has some pretty good real flying in it and so on like that. But nowadays, it's like, they're just going to jump on making things all CG and so on like that, where this one's like, no, there is no fucking CG. We're going to have some actual fucking planes flying. You know what I mean? We're going to have cool dogfights simulated and everything there. They got some superimposed, flat cannons over the top. But I mean, I get it. You're not going to be shooting flat cannons at even probably models or anything like that. But beyond that, though, it's like, these scenes are badass. And just
the trick flying that they do, just the skill involved with those pilots flying those replica planes.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And there is something special about like that World War I era. And I think it's just because it's so new, and it's just everybody's learning all these cool new skills and so on like that. I mean, it's just like even like the Red Baron, though he's not in this thing, but I got like his autobiography, because when I learned that he had one, I'm like, he has a fucking autobiography? I'm like, I gotta check this out, because it's like one of those ones, like he died at like 21 or something like that. Like, it's weird because you look at him on like the pizza box and you think of him like a man, like an older man, but it's like, no, he was like a boy the whole time.
Well, and those aces that survived, they're became like folk heroes, like heroes, like damn it, I'm gonna not be able to pull his name. Shit. The commander in World War II of the Luftwaffe. Fucking, he was an ace from World War One.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So you do have all those guys that kind of carry on, but like in Aces High though, how many of these guys don't make it though too, and it's just common,
Dude, yeah. So that's basically leading up to the final dogfight when they go to take out the balloons, the spotting balloons.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, because there is some stuff that kind of builds up beforehand before we get that far.
Right.
Because what leading back to it is when you got Christopher Plummer's character and whatnot, and he's got that scene where he takes the young boy out for a nice little picnic by the lake and everything like that. They got wine and cheese. It's really kind of strange.
Herman Goring, that's who I was thinking of.
Oh, okay, yeah, that name sounds familiar there now that you mention it.
Yeah, he was an ace pilot from World War One on the German side.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's just like some of those other guys too, and those guys were like giant folk heroes for sure. Especially just for once again you're just operating this brand new technology with all this skill,
right?
And, just these battles and so on. But
and on the British side, 8,000 of your pilots died during 4 years of World War One.
Yeah, just crazy.
So many of them just getting schwacked.
Just left it. Well, that's just what it was. It's just especially when you only, you've flown a plane for 12 hours and now you go on a mission and, how many more hours is that? 6 more hours? Got behind the fucking, stick.
You could barely take off and land.
Yeah, because that's really like the kid in this movie, Croft or whatever. It's like, it shows like half the time he can barely land. I mean, like it's not his fault. He just hasn't had that much practice. I mean, like nowadays, I think you got to do like 10,000 hours just to get like a basic pilot's license. Let alone they're sending these guys up there with machine guns and doing all kinds of crazy stuff and whatnot. But I guess what I was getting
modern air command and the training that they do, like their acceptance rate for error, like like down planes and basically accidents in training is like literally like close to zero.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is, but I mean, like they take it so fucking serious. And back then, I looked up another stat and it said like 58% of British pilots killed in like 1914 were either killed in combat or during training accidents.
It makes sense. It's just like, I crashed another plane. Okay, piece that back together, engineers, and we'll go up again tomorrow.
Get out of your tent, mechanics. Fix this bird.
There's even a scene. I think it's funny because it's like, well, I guess this leads up to it. Then we'll go to that one, but I just wanted to say there's a part where Sinclair, they go out on that picnic thing that we keep mentioning, and they kind of have this bonding moment because that guy is the dude who's just. He's nice to like everybody. He's like the one who's just like, he's like, oh, it's going to be okay, man. Not like Malcolm McDowell, who's just, is pretty much being a dick to everyone there and so on like that. And, literally telling like the dude who he's got the PTSD that he's like, I will fucking get you to the firing squad. You know what I mean? You dare fucking leave this airport.
Everybody takes the risk.
Yeah. And so they go up on another mission or whatnot, and Sinclair rides in the back of the young lad.
They're doing a scouting mission. They're filming German lines.
Yeah, so that's all they're doing. But of course,
he even made a. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's so funny because Sinclair even made a point to Gresham where he's like, yeah, I'll take Croft. I mean, he's only got to fly in a straight line.
Yeah, exactly. And there's even a part too. It actually comes right before that he's showing off. He's like, check this out. He's like, it's like a little grenade, dispenser thing. He's like, you pull it this way, it drops one. You push it this way, it drops the other one and whatnot. Fucking Malcolm McDowell walks in. He's like, did you see this? Check this out. And Malcolm McDowell's like, yeah, that's fucking great. He looks at it for like 1 second and then goes on like, I could care less. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was laughing so hard at that part. But But yeah, they go up there and they're like, yeah, we're just going on this. Yeah, we're supposed to just do a little reconnaissance, get some photographs and whatnot like that. And of course, they get some Germans coming on in, some German bandits coming to take them down. And Sinclair's up there, firing the machine gun off the back and whatnot. And I think he gets a plane or two. But then he gets tagged. But since he's just that cheerful older fella there and whatnot, when Croft looks back at him, he's like, "You like, oh, is you okay?" And he's just like, "Oh yeah, no problem, thumbs up." You know what I mean? But he knows it's like that's kind of it and so on. Even though he's telling them it's going to be fine because he doesn't want him to worry one bit. And even when they land, they're almost, Croft's so ecstatic and everything like that. He's like, "Oh man, you should have saw it. Sinclair got a couple of guys down, and all this stuff." And then Malcolm McDowell's like, everybody looks like he's dead. Like, no. He's gone, and they pull him out. And that's kind of the part that does put kind of Croft over the edge. So his cheerfulness, here. And by this point, we're on maybe day 4 or 5. I can't remember. Something like that.
Starts to die out a little bit.
Yeah, because they're starting to see pilots go and so on like that. And now he's lost the one guy who was, in a sense, the nicest one to him because he never really connected to everybody else. Malcolm McDowell's just being an ass. And then everybody else isn't necessarily really. He's just the new young buck there. And that's about it. He almost makes...
Crawford's out of his mind looking at nudie slides.
Yeah, exactly. They get that kind of stuff. That's all he's like, any distractions or anything like that. He's even dressing up like a pirate at some point. I feel like he's trying to do anything to make himself look like the loon.
Right.
And but now it's like he's lost Sinclair, and it's like he doesn't feel like he fits in, but he's like, I'm gonna go eat with the engineer guys and so on like that. And then of course
I'm gonna go hang out in the tent.
Go hang out in the tent. They seem like fine fellas. They got sandwiches and everything like that. They're brewing up some kind of weird like bathtub like coffee.
All right.
And then Malcolm McDowell was like, "We missed you at dinner. Where were you? Hanging out with the engineers?
Hanging out with those plebs? How dare you? You missed the nightly pillow fight."
Yeah, and we had nudie. We had, Tuesday nude day.
Yeah. I will say one thing that made me happy, because, I was worried once, they kept doing the day counter. I was like, oh, God, what's going to happen? When Croft finally, he got to have a nice poke and joke with one of the local whores down there in France.
Yeah, the old French whorehouse,
I was like, okay, good. He's probably gonna die.
The weirdest thing too is like, it's like, okay, dude, like the Sinclair guy dies, and then like Croft's having a bad time, and I think this also he did see there was a scene I think a day before or something where he did see like a lot of the wounded soldiers like, and that kind of was like, oh shit, like it's when you're at the flight academy or whatnot, like it's just a bunch of guys playing piano, having fucking pillow fights and drinking and so on like that, and then he saw like what the guys on the front lines were. It's like, oh shit, this stuff's getting real. You know what I mean?
Even the frontline soldiers. I mean, like if you listen to Dan Carlin's podcast on it, they all go into World War I, think it's going to be just one giant grand adventure. And what is it? I can't remember which episode it was, but he talks about all the cavalry officers that are like, we just need one big cavalry charge. Just one.
Just one. Well, that's like I always think of like All Quiet on the Western Front, where there's like that teacher dude telling all the German guys like, "Hey, you guys should go to war. It's great. You're gonna meet all kinds of people. You're gonna learn some new shit. It's fun. Like we all went to war. Like you know what I mean? Like it's just like a giant chess game." And then I always felt like all those guys came back like that fucking teacher sent us off to the trenches and all this stuff. Like that son of a bitch. Like he just like you know what I mean? We were doing all fine and dandy, and he convinced us all to drop out of college and go to the war,
Right.
And here I am fucking eating a rat, you know what I mean? Looking at all these other wounded bastards out here. Fucking
I got
gas
fucking
is seeping
trench
over the
foot
top.
twice.
Yeah, fucking, when it rains, it fills up the trench, and it's not like a fun water park. Yeah, there's just all that. That's all I always think about that. That teacher guy's probably like, I gotta fucking leave town. Like, I literally just sent my entire school to their death.
Right. That's the thing that makes World War I so cool. And, like, It's been long enough now. All those people are dead. Everybody who survived it, they're all gone. But that's what makes it so neat, because it's like the old world meeting the new. The uniforms, the equipment they have. It's just, I don't know. There's like a magical thing about it that makes it so fun.
Well, one of my favorite things is, I love the guns of World War I, because I love that time period when there's new inventions and everybody sort of has a different idea on how to put things together. And in that part, I think you get a lot of really cool stuff. And it's like, as time goes on, someone gets it more and more dialed in. But the more and more it gets dialed in, there's not like those very experimental looking things. And sometimes the experimental guns, like there's like those ones where the machine guns that have like the double clips that go on the top that just like look fucking badass and everything like that. Like I love just like the aesthetic there is, and just the fact that everybody, each person, all across Europe had a different idea of how to, make these guns better and so on like that. So there's like this lot of like different like artistic designs going in there and so on that you don't see later in life.
That on top magazine, like Circle magazine machine gun, that's a Lewis gun.
Okay, well, there's a Circle magazine. There's one that literally takes like two like long banana clip looking things, but it goes on the top.
Oh, okay.
And it's got literally like a double barrel in a sense.
Yeah, that's also where our machine gun lord and savior John Moses Browning makes the world with all his wonderful machine guns and guns.
Well, yeah. There is a lot of guns though that have stood the test of time from World War I with just slight like improvements, like a 1911 and all that kind of stuff too that are still used quite commonly, but there's just I think that there's a bunch of neat things in there that kind of is once again it's sort of overshadowed by World War II. That's the thing. Is World War II takes up so much. It's like even just like there's so few video games. There's a couple cool ones where you do get World War I dogfights and so on like that. Like there's one that I have on like literally like the MetaQuest VR, and it's fucking badass because you're flying, you can look on over, you can throw a fucking grenade down, and you're blasting people in fucking dogfights. You slap that machine gun on the top when it gets fucking jammed.
Well, it's also like the battlefield expanded for World War II. There was more movement, There wasn't being held up in trench warfare.
Yeah, because on really like a Western Front the whole time for the most part,
Right.
I mean, you do have all the other stuff like the fucking Lawrence of Arabia parts of World War I and all that southern stuff.
Yeah.
And and then
Don't
there's
make me watch that movie again, Spence. Don't you fucking dare.
And then there's sort of the Chinese part too, which is like the kind of like that almost like that bridge to World War II section. So there is all sorts of those things going on. But yeah, I do get it. Like you said, World War II, you got all sorts of different places. You got Africa, you got Japan, you got all the islands and all that stuff. Let alone just Germany and
blitzkrieg warfare, where the Germans are just storming across.
Yeah, just storming across, all hopped up,
high on meth.
Yeah, literally, everybody's just methed out and stuff with a bunch of drunk like French people.
Right. But dude, I was so blown away though. I know we've already talked about it, but I was so blown away by the dogfights, and they gave you a good amount of them. Like it wasn't like there was just a couple of those aerial battles. Like they gave you a lot, and you get to see Gresham in action, and he I could see why everybody's like, this is the fucking CO. This guy's the top dog, because he was just like killing every fucking German that came into the AO. Like everybody else was just there to like help Gresham out.
Yeah, pretty much, because he was their ace pilot for sure. And once they
drunk off his ass up in the air.
Yeah, he just, he comes back just drunk as all can be and whatnot, but he just goes out there. Well, because even like when they get ready, they got this like last mission, and that's kind of what this movie's all leading up towards. And they do the thing where they're like, okay, we got to go out there. We got to take out some of those blimp Zeppelins, the Germans got up there and whatnot. And there's going to be some pilots coming in, so we're going to have some dogfights. So we're going to split into 2 different crews and whatnot. And they finally force the dude with the PTSD. They're like, you're fucking going on this mission. Like, you know what I mean? Come hell or high water, And that guy just literally just does a mental break. Like, there's a part where it shows him, he puts his goggles on, like he's getting ready, and then he just starts running around the planes with his arms out like a 4-year-old, just like a flying plane. And there's a part where like Malcolm McDowell walks up and like somebody else, and they don't say anything, but you just feel like he's gone fucking mad. Like, it just felt like one of those moments. Like, and it literally does. And Malcolm McDowell kind of just does that thing where he goes, just take him, put him to bed. Like, that's it, And I think it's just he realized a couple things. One, there was nothing he was going to do about it. And 2, like, I don't think I could trust that guy up there anymore. Like, he literally he's doing everything he can be to go psycho. Yeah. He literally had a mental breakdown to stop himself from going up there.
Well, it wasn't even like it was voluntary for him.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he's fucking broken. Like, the dude was just cracked.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. They threw that in there. Like, we got like a perfect example of like that World War I battle fatigue, shell shock, PTSD just shut down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this guy it's just that thing where I think Malcolm McDowell realized even if I forced him, it would not do us any good to have that guy up there.
Oh, no, he'd be fucked.
Yeah, everybody would be, So they send the crew of like a handful of those guys. And, of course, the new lad, Croft, he's up there. And we're rolling on over to day 7. And they're going to go take out the blimps and everything like that. And so they take out a couple of them. And then, of course, like 6 German bandits come out of nowhere, like to be told and whatnot. And they have this badass aerial dogfight. But in the process, a couple of the guys start getting taken out, just getting blasted. Dude blows one guy's head like apart and everything. It starts to get kind of violent, too.
I know, for a PG movie, it was very violent, that last dogfight, and very one-sided at the beginning. It was just all the Brits were dropping.
Yeah, they're really getting taken out. And granted, a PG movie in the 70s is technically like a PG-13 in this, because they didn't have 13 till whatever, like 84 or whatever. Because Red Dawn's one of the first ones. It's like a PG-13.
Oh, okay.
But, it maybe it was even a little bit, somewhere out there. Red Dawn might have been re-rated, but I can't remember. But
I don't know. I was going to say that's kind of shocking.
I think it was Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom was the movie that they're like, we need to have something in between, like R and PG. Like, that was the movie that kind of changed him. Like, you know what? This movie was almost a little too intense at the PG level, But almost the same could be said here, too, which is weird. This is, if this movie is PG, it's like it's even got nudity in it and everything like that.
Yeah, it does, huh?
But
I didn't think about that.
The weird thing is, in the 70s, you could literally just freely have nudity in movies, and it's like it didn't make a difference. Because even the 007 movies have nudity in them, like in the Roger Moore ones. I mean, it's not like anything like you sometimes have to kind of like pause and go, oh, there it is right there, Or there's like one part, and I remember in the movie, I didn't notice it until I had like a really large TV, and I was like, oh, when they walk into like this American like Navy like office or whatever, like on a ship, I think it's on I want to still say it's a Roger Moore one, but it could be the Sean Connery one. But there's just literally all these nude pictures on the wall right there.
Right.
So it's like you kind of can get it. Like in the 70s, like, whatever. And I think that's kind of it too with this, when they have like the, they get the projector out and they're like, oh, we got some photographs here, straight out of France.
Right. Yeah, look at the bush on this one.
Yeah. And then one guy's like, he's like, I want to see her from the front. And he like walks around projector. Oh, I can't see it.
Yeah, that's so stupid.
That's just what happens. You get all hopped up. You already ran out of all the songs you could sing that night.
Right.
The pillow fight's already done. You know what I mean?
It's World War One. You're not really hip on technology still. You're kind of an idiot.
Yeah, this is the first time you've seen a projector of any kind, So, but going back to that dogfight towards the end, and the guys are getting taken down. They take out a couple of those Zeppelins and so on like they're supposed to.
Right.
But then next thing you know, there's more German planes than there is of the British ones. And for a second there was a couple parts where it's like, oh shit, one guy got taken out. It's like, oh, was that the kid that got taken out? Because they're all wearing helmets and goggles, so it's not
right,
the
it's hard to
easiest.
tell.
Yeah,
it's the backdraft dilemma.
Yeah,
this is why we don't wear helmets.
Yeah, this is why, because you can't tell. Like, you can tell Malcolm McDowell because he's got his jacket and his scarf kind of like he's got that red scarf on. It kind of makes him stand out a little bit more. But everybody else, you couldn't. So at first I was like, oh god, there's Croft. Oh no, that was just some other guy that got shot and so on like that.
Right.
But then eventually it kind of does build up where it's like, dude, it's just literally Malcolm McDowell and Croft is the only guys left. And Croft does go out like a champ. He literally crashes straight into another fucking German plane to take him out and just blows up in midair.
He shoots one of the Zeppelins and it explodes.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he gets into a dogfight with a German. He takes him out. And they have this like sweet moment where Croft gets wing to wing with Gresham. And they look at each other. And Gresham like gives him like you did good, kid. You're finally one of us, like thumbs up. And Croft's like, I made it. My hero. I'm one of you now. And then immediately into the German plane. Doesn't steer away or anything, just full-on head-on collision.
His head-on, yeah. That's right, yeah. I forgot. It did have that little build-up like that he was finally accepted. It was all going to work out. Malcolm McDowell actually likes me, and boom, that's it. You know, and Malcolm McDowell's the only pilot that makes it back. All the other guys are dead.
He also kills like almost all the Germans.
Yeah, he does.
Single-handedly. He's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, he takes.
That's also how you can tell who Gresham is in the film. Not just by his scarf and like his like distinct uniform. He's the one killing everybody.
Yeah, he's literally getting all the check marks on the board, you know, when he gets back. So yeah, he takes them all out and so on like that, and then returns, and then that's when we finally get to the ending, and the ending is just really fucking something special. I mean, like, because you watch it, and Malcolm McDowell comes back, he's there in his office and everything. And a guy comes in, he's like, hey, we got the new recruits for you here. And then 3 guys walk in that look almost even younger than Croft, you know, just even more boy-like. And then, of course, Malcolm asks them the famous question, well, how much flight training do you got? And, you know, the kid's like,
$15, huh?
You know, one of them has to slap him like, fucking flight training, you know what I mean? Like, oh, well, yes, 14 hours, 13 hours. He's like, yep. And then he just turns and stares out the window, seeing like this kind of ghostly, battered Croft, who almost looks like, for a second you're like, oh, did he fucking actually somehow survive that head-on collision in midair? And then it's like, oh, no.
Yeah.
He's just envisioning that pilot there and kind of seeing that, like, yep, these pilots here, it's going to be the same thing. One more week and I'll never see him ever again. Why make a connection with him too much?
He's also thinking, he's like, well, I know one dude's sister who's not going to let me bang her now.
Yeah,
that's one important part we left out.
Yeah, I forgot about that part. Because, well, that's another one of the parts where, like, fucking Malcolm McDowell's being an ass again, is that, like, fucking Croft comes and is like, I want to mail this little mail. He's like, you're not mailing anything. Just rips it out of his fucking hand, takes it from him.
It reads it. It's, like, mostly about him.
Exactly.
Like, he's my hero. Sister, you picked the best man. I fucking love him too. That's the fucked up part too. Like, you know, we didn't talk about that. When Croft first gets there and Gresham wants to send him off so he could die under someone else's watch, it turns out that Croft's sister is basically sweet on Gresham. He has a picture of her in his office. They write letters back and forth to each other.
Yeah, so they have more of a connection. I kind of forgot about that part too. Yeah. So that really adds in, and I think maybe that's sort of why also Malcolm McDowell really didn't want to get too, like, you know, buddy with him. Yeah, it's like toast. He knows he's toast. He knows he's just too young, and he's just seen it. He sees it rolls over and over because that's like almost like the whole premise of this movie is the fact that like
100%.
It just every week it's the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Where you're gonna bring in a bunch of new guys. None of them are gonna make it. But in the meantime, I guess we'll just drink, party, and have pillow fights. And once a week, we'll go hit up fucking France for their whorehouse.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
And it's even that part. This goes back a little bit earlier, but there's like right before they go on that final mission, like when Croft's like, "I'm going to sneak out and go back to the whorehouse," and then he asks like Crawford, he's like, "Would you like to come with me?" And that's when he gives that speech. He's like, "If I go out of here, I'm never coming back, and they'll kill me," and stuff. And he's like, "Oh, well, okay then." And then he goes there and he goes with the most cheerful thing, like, "There's my whore," and stuff. And he almost like is like waving practically, and she's like, "Oh shit!" Like I'm with another client. And then it's like, it's weird because they don't really explain. Yeah, it's like I kind of wonder because like they cut away from that and they go back to like Malcolm McDowell. So I was almost expecting to be one of those ones where like he was such a kid that he didn't really know what that place really was. He's like thought he had some connection with her, and then it just turns out no, that was just a fucking business transaction, and that's it. But it doesn't really. It just cuts to him like the next day coming back. So I don't know. He just fucking hung out there or whatever he did. Like I think
he knew. I think he knew.
Yeah, maybe he did.
He's just a boy. You know what I mean? He's like, I'm gonna get fucked.
Yeah.
Cheerio.
So whatever he probably just sat there in the fucking like waiting room and then realized that she was never. This other dude had way more money because look how old he's, like 56 years old.
Right. Do you know what's another like fun thing about the movie, like for the time period and the fact that it was British? You had like fun little things like the academy, and I'm pretty sure it's Gresham that goes back and talks to the class, right?
Yes.
At the very, very beginning? Okay, yeah. So they're all like, "Oh, look at him. He's a fucking pilot. He was here." But like when he's talking about it and he's like, "Oh, yeah, he's my chap. He was the head boy of my academy." You're just like I always forget that was a thing at one point. You had like boys' academies and head boys and whatnot that were in charge of the other little fucking scoundrels.
Yeah, exactly. You had to have your like residential advisor type, characters
right.
And so on like that.
It's like a fun little period piece, and it's just silly. He was the head boy.
It probably went on for even longer too. It's that one that I always wonder too, because like back in the day, because it's like to be a pilot nowadays, you generally have to be the chosen one. You almost have to be
it's so crazy.
Utmost perfect health. There's a lot of factors that kind of go into play there. And I kind of wonder in World War I how picky and choosy they were about who could sign up to be a pilot.
Not at all, probably.
It's not like, because nowadays it's like if you didn't go to a fancy school and you didn't if you weren't flying in diapers practically, good fucking luck.
Well, I think it was the same, like the fancy school and connections, and like it was kind of like, I'm sure World War I, I'm not an expert, but I'm sure that's probably still the time period where like if you had money you could buy a commission.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you had education and money and like you were from like a good family, you could get a commission. But I mean, like if you look at plane assignments now, and there's some fun videos out there, especially if we're in the military, you like military shit. You can see fighter pilots or just pilots in general getting their plane assignments, and you'll see them like, it's like a big party, right? So they'll have the pilot go up on like a stage, and then it'll show a picture of their assigned plane that they're going to fly for like, their contract, their service. And it's like brand new pilots, right? They just got through training. So it'll be like, Amy Fuckface is getting to fly a C-17. You're going to be basically like, an airline pilot for the military. And she's like, yeah, C-17. And then they'll be like, here's like Bob Fuck his face. You get to be an A-10 Warthog pilot. And then, you see him. He's like, fuck yeah, I got a giant machine gun with a plane attached.
Yeah, I'm gonna blow some shit up.
Yeah, I'm gonna fuck shit up. And then you'll see like the dudes' faces where they get like shit like the B-2 bomber, or not B-2. What's the one where it's like the flying wing? I don't fucking know what it is.
Oh, the stealth one? The stealth bomber one?
Yeah, dude. Like, like basically you're going to be a pilot flying like a $500 million aircraft, like nuclear capable, stealthy. You could like fly into Russia and like destroy a city and no one knows you're coming.
Exactly.
Big responsibility. And you could see the look on their face when it's like, this is your assignment because you were top G in this class. And you just see the look on their face like, oh, fuck. I'm gonna fly that. Holy shit.
Yeah, you get kind of those issues and so on. Yeah, there's definitely some. Well, it's like I always think of in World War II, my grandpa was, or on my dad's side, he was a pilot / navigator for B-26 bombers or whatever in like the North Africa and Italy area and whatnot. And I remember he would tell some stories too. He's like, you'd fly, the planes on over, and there'd be about 5 of us on those planes or whatnot, those big old flying fortress ones, because you would have the navigator, the bombardier, the pilot, the nose gunner, the back gunner. I think there's a side gunner too, if I'm not mistaken. If not 2 side gunners.
Probably they're like covered in guns.
Yeah, they're just covered in guns, bombs, and stuff. And he talked about, I think it was might have been in North Africa, but I think it was actually might have been in Italy, but they got caught in the spotlight or whatnot. He's like, yeah, we got caught in the spotlight in the middle of the night and we were just having to get out of it. And he's like, the funny thing is when we got back, we looked at the plane and it had like 176 bullet holes in it.
Oh,
nobody got shot through there, but yeah.
Dude.
Just getting railed with those flat cannons and like AA guns and everything like that.
My grandpa was an engineer in the Army, and part of like the island campaigns, like towards the end.
Yeah,
when he was really young. So like basically, he drove like a tractor, just like tearing up jungle, because that's how America fights jungle warfare.
You plow a fucking road into it.
Yeah. If you read books on World War II jungle warfare, a lot of like historians agree that the best. A lot of historians argue that the best jungle fighters were the Australians. And then, of course, the Japanese after them. And then, default worst / third is the U.S. But the way the U.S. fought jungle warfare is we blew it the fuck up.
Yeah, just carved it past.
We destroyed the jungle. But that was his job. He would just clear jungle. And he had some fucking ridiculous stories about that.
Yeah, I bet. Well, it's funny because I think about my other grandpa, and he was in the Navy in World War II, and he was on the USS New Jersey, so it was like one of the only ships that wasn't in Pearl Harbor. So I got kind of unscathed there. But like all I know about that one is all there is there's these pictures of him with his buddies on different places with different women in every single picture.
Fuck, dude.
Yeah, fucking with, Admiral Halsey or whatnot, or Halsey, just out there and probably just firing fucking cannons away from those ships and, doing whatever you do on the Navy out there.
Right. Oh, fuck that shit. Fuck that.
Big old...
I couldn't do the Navy one. The Navy life would drive me crazy.
Yeah,
being stuck in those tight confines. Have you ever toured like an old World War II Navy boat?
I have. I've been on the USS Hornet when I was in Boy Scouts, and once we stayed the night on there.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
It was actually pretty badass and stuff. And then of course my mom was like our like chaperone or whatnot, so she was like, "Oh, let's go like explore some stuff." And then next thing you know, we had flashlights out and everything. And some guy comes out, it's like, "What the hell are you guys doing down here? You're not supposed to be down here." We're like, "We're Boy Scouts." We had the tools. We didn't think there was anything wrong with it. Right. So of course we were already getting trouble in there and so on like that. But that was kind of like that gave you sort of the experience and like the bunks and everything like that. And
no room.
Yeah, no room and whatnot. And that USS Hornet's cool if anybody's ever in the Alameda area of the Bay Area, because you can go out there and check it out. I remember the last time I was there, I wanted to go see it again, but for some reason it was like closed on whatever the day I was down there. I'm like, oh. But yeah, it's one of those ones. So like, you did get kind of the feel of what it was like on a World War II carrier.
Yeah, I grew up listening to my brother's like Marine Corps going on floats with the Navy stories.
Yeah,
Just like nobody there, and he's 10 years older than me, so probably inappropriate stories for the time. But it'd be like, yeah, I woke up in the middle of the night and there's fucking Bob just out, on his bunk, just fucking beating his dick. We're all like, Bob, what the fuck?
Yeah, like, we're all here.
I'm like 11 or like 10, just like, what the fuck?
He's like, I don't want to meet Bob.
But yeah, dude, I was like, I don't want that. I don't want to fucking be stuck on a boat.
Yeah, just stuck. That'd be like even be like in a submarine. Be like, hey, guess where you're going to be for the next month?
Oh God, even worse.
Yeah.
Even worse.
Fucking breathing in everybody's recycled fart air.
Yeah, at least on a boat you get like, you go topside and like smell fresh air and look at the ocean, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're not just trapped in that submarine, especially if you're trapped in a Soviet submarine.
Right. Bigger shower so you can drop the soap and give your homie a reach around, doing Navy things.
I
know what you Navy fucks were up to.
You get bored on a Tuesday. Just like the Air Force guys have fucking pillow fights, so that's what I learned.
Man love Wednesday.
Yeah. Just bored on a Tuesday, so it's okay.
Yeah, no thanks. No thanks. Being a pilot would be pretty fucking dope, though. Like World War II, World War I, even though they all seem to die.
Well, it's something I think about all the time is because it's like there's a very romanticism for that World War I pilot thing. It's just like how cool it is and so on like that. But the thing is, it's like, yeah, the death rate is so high on it too, But even like if you ever get a chance to read that fucking Red Baron's book, like the way he talks about it, though, it does feel like fucking high adventure and how like glorious it is to be up there, and for as many guys as he took out too. I mean, he just took
until he got taken out.
But then he got taken out, and
I
think he got taken out by the British, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a moment, but it's not like that part's in the book because he finished writing it before it's the weirdest thing is the fact that like, yeah, I'm going to write my auto. How old are you? I'm 19 years old. I'm writing my autobiography.
Dude, that's like, I read a book about like a bomber or something like that went down behind enemy lines, and they basically had to like avoid capture and survive in World War II and eventually like try to escape. I was like, fuck that, dude.
Well, that's the thing I think too, is because that's you feel like you're like, hey, I'm a pilot. Like, well, the worst thing that's going to happen is I'm going to get blown up in the sky. Okay. But then you don't realize, like, what happens when you go down and now you're behind enemy lines and now you're either
by yourself.
In a POW camp, or you're going to be trying to survive whatever harsh environment that you're in to try to get back and figure out where the hell you are right now. Yeah, I feel like that's the thing. It's like you're such a crappy situation right then and there,
Yeah, that's why they send every pilot through like SEER school. Survival, evasion. Fuck. I am no good at my acronyms anymore.
Yeah, I've never been the personal biggest fan of an acronym. I always just feel like just say the full thing. You know what I mean? Like all like it feels like government and companies they love their acronyms so much, but you can't have like 10,000 acronyms and expect someone to remember them all.
Yeah, it's survival, evasion, resistance, and escape.
There we go. Yeah.
I did SEER school, but not like the cool actual SEER school where you like get trained and it's like as close to a real situation, you're like running through the woods. What I did was a computer training program, and it was fucking stupid. It's like, okay, fucking like, dumb fucking infantry guy, you got captured by the Taliban. What are you going to do? A, B, or C? Only tell them your name and rank. B, tell them where all your allied troops are located on a map. Hey, good job. It was like point and click adventure style, like look around the room to find something you can use. Do you need a hint? Press the hint button.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So fucking stupid.
And that's the one that if you did get trapped behind enemy lines, you'd be like, this is the only training I have is that stupid fucking point and click game.
Yeah, right. Fuck. Oh, God.
I wonder if the Taliban had the same similar training too, just on a Windows 95.
Right.
They just had a copy of King's Quest that was burned. They're like, this is... Wait a second.
Dude, they wouldn't even have that, dude. They're fucking dirt people.
That's true.
Sorry. Whoops. Dude, funny Afghanistan story. So we gave the Afghani National Army, like, we would give them movies and, like, TV shows, right?
Yeah.
So I gave... And they had these dope Ford Rangers, like Ford Rangers that you can't get in the States. Like they like had more steel in them. Like they were just beefier. They could take more of a beating.
Probably had good four-wheel drive on them and all that stuff.
Yeah, manual transmission. Like they fucking rip, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, dude, these dudes like fucking ripping in their Ford Rangers. And I like, watching A&A get themselves fucked up because they're retarded. I'm going to give them Dukes of Hazzard. I gave them Dukes of Hazzard on TV, and they're like, okay, right? A couple weeks later, fucking, I'm like, I think I'm in the gym, and then the call comes out. It's like, we have a Moscow A&A soldiers, like, report to the aid station. So I fucking, like, beat feet to the aid station, right? And I'm like, all right, what's going on? They're like, yeah, a bunch of A&A tried to jump a wadi in their Ford Rangers, and they flipped it. Now they're all fucked up.
I wonder how that happened.
Yeah, dude. So they like get in there and like the turf is like in our aid station. They're asking questions, and one of them's like, ask them what they were like. What were they doing? Like, why did they do that? And they're like, oh, they're trying to launch the General League. They're trying to be like Bo Duke or whatever the fuck his name
Bo
is.
and Luke Duke.
Yeah, and I was like, oh god, fuck.
That's actually quite amazing though, and I like that they tried. They actually went the distance with that, because we all dream about being Bo and Luke Duke, and then we realize that sometimes it doesn't work out that well. Sort of like when me and you decided to jump vehicles, and we're like, let's jump a Bronco and see what happens, and then we don't realize that. Well, it sort of worked, but then also we realized that it also like the sort of nosedive, like right away too.
Right.
Really, Dukes of Hazzard's a very dangerous show for anybody to kind of watch because next thing you know, you're like, I got to jump a vehicle.
Dude,
Life
I'm
will
so
not be
dumb.
will not
I'm
be
so
complete.
dumb. I didn't learn that lesson, dude. Like I did that again, like another time. Not with a Bronco. I did it with that Pontiac that I had, and I broke an engine mount on it, jumping that bitch. But another fucking dude, I won't name him, just out of respect. He jumped his fucking car and like immediately his car died. We opened up the hood. It detached a ton of shit in his engine and like he got fucking air. He launched, like he full on Dukes of Hazzard launched that bitch. Hit the ground, sparks everywhere. Like it was like Fast and the Furious, the original.
Yeah.
Dude, it was insane. And we had to like try and put everything back together so he could drive off before the cops came. Dude.
It is. It's one of those ones. It's a magical moment. Then you realize that vehicles were not made for that one bit, unless they're designed for racing and everything.
Oh, exactly. Movies could be very dangerous. Movies and TV can be a bad influence. Dazed and Confused. We don't have to tell these stories. Dukes of Hazzard, Aces High, man. If I had a plane, like a little single propeller prop plane. God, that was hard to say. But if I had one, I'd be tempted to be like, yo, let's do some barrel rolls. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. This sounds weird. I remember being a kid once, and I literally saw that there was a gyrocopter for sale. And it was that one that probably realistically wasn't like god-awful expensive for the fact of having a mini helicopter you could have in your backyard. But then you kind of wonder, like, how real safe? Because it literally is like a go-kart with a propeller on the top at the end of the day. Like that's all it is. But I've thought about that many times over the years, being like, well, this would be pretty. If I had one of those, just think of all that you'd be flying that thing around and whatnot like that. But then at the same time,
yeah,
yeah.
have you seen those ultralights? where it's like a parachute and you have the little seat that you sit on, and on your back is like a fan boat engine.
Yeah, yes, I have seen those. Yeah.
Bro, have you seen those people crash?
No, but I bet you it can't be good.
Yeah, dude. They can't fly in strong winds.
Nope. Yeah, you get probably taken out real fast. Oh, geez. Yeah, it's one of those ones with that those World War One pilots and so on like that. In a sense, the romanticism of how cool it seems to be, I guess, when everything all works out fine and dandy. And then there's like that second wave that kind of happens once you have all the pilots that do survive the war. And there's that, it's like that storytelling era of like the 20s and 30s where you have almost that slightly Indiana Jones kind of feel, but where the fact that like, hey, here's these like pilot guys that they fought in World War One now, and now they got these cargo ships or these cargo planes that are taking, you know, treasure back and forth, that they're, you know, they're just out on these high adventures and whatnot. I mean, even so much, it sounds weird, but there's like the cartoon Tailspin is literally like taking that style and just giving it like a Disney like animal thing. But that's really what it is. It's like, it's literally like Baloo and fucking Kid, or literally like being like Baloo being like a World War One pilot back in the day, and now it's like the 30s and he's flying out like cargo and so on like that and fighting like air pirates.
Right. Dude, what was that movie where the plane, they're trying to like get the plane up and running? It's like in the desert. Is it like Sahara?
No. Sahara's a different movie. That's Flight of the Phoenix. Or Flight.
Yeah.
Flight of the Phoenix.
Like that, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know what time period that movie's in, but it's that kind of feel. It's like that romanticism.
Yep.
The sense of adventure.
I almost want to say I believe that movie is I want to say it is 30s, because I want to say it's before World War II. I could be mistaken, but both that one and the original one, they're both good. I saw the remake in cinemas when that came out. I was like, oh, that's fucking great.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Doesn't it have like Viggo Mortensen in it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, fucking, I'll watch anything with Viggo.
Yeah, no, it had a bunch of good stuff in there too, and then once again, that's the thing, is like there's just these World War One stuff. There's like there's a few movies, like there's one called The Dawn Patrol from like, it's like an Errol Flynn movie from like the 30s, so it's like really early days one, but it's still pretty darn good all in all, you know. And then there's a couple. I think there's one called Flyboys, if I'm not mistaken. That's I think World War
the Franco one.
Yeah. There's that one.
I'm not a big James Franco fan.
Yeah, man, he's got some things here and there. So
I don't know what it is about him.
Yeah, as long
as he's not being funny, I don't want to watch it. That's my Franco take.
Yeah, and I think that's like an early days one before he started even doing some of the comedy stuff. But yeah, I just wish there was more. I really do wish there was more World War One storytelling out there. You know, even like video games too. It's like they did like the Battlefield 1, which I thought was pretty badass, and then like
as long as it lasted, the campaign.
Well, the 5 missions were fun, and that's always the thing. Is like the Battlefield always had really good campaigns, and it's like, but it's like nobody else kind of jumped on that, like, you know, kind of even like
I never tried that Verdun game, so I can't tell you if that was good.
Yeah, well, that one was only multiplayer only. That was the only reason I remember. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, it didn't have like a campaign, so that's why I never got it.
Oh, but, that's a bummer.
Yeah, so I looked at that and I was like, oh, because I literally thought about getting it, because I was like, oh, this is sweet. But then it's like, yeah, but yeah, no.
I always thought like a great World War One video game idea would be is you set it in the trenches. Don't start at the beginning of the war. Start at like 1915. Like we want to start when shit is like getting gritty, right? And like if you started at the beginning, that's cool and everything, but it kind of fucks up my idea, which is you play as an unnamed, unknown private, and like when you start like the campaign, your private has a name. As soon as you die, because you're gonna die in every first-person shooter, this is gonna happen. It's unavoidable. As soon as you die, that character's dead forever, and you just take the place of another poor fucking asshole private that's in that push. And you just keep doing that until you complete the campaign. just cycling through bodies. And then at the end of the game, it tells you all your deaths, and it like gives you a list of all of the fucking poor privates that you murdered.
Yeah, that would be an interesting way to go. I know, like, in that Battlefield 1, like, when you play the first level, it does that thing where, like, you kind of go and, like, you keep switching people because you keep getting killed and whatnot, but it only does that in that first mission or whatever, you know. It's kind of like a cinematic thing, you know. But that actually would be kind of an interesting one, because there's some other games out there that have done that.
Make the story the story of World War One. Like, the character doesn't have to be a big part of the story. The whole story is the fight.
Yeah. No, and I think that would be kind of interesting. And it's like that thing, too. It's like, I'm surprised other games don't, like, take their... In a sense, you could just take their World War II formula, but switch it to, like, World War One. Like, I think one that'd be interesting is just to give, like, Sniper Elite, like a World War One theme instead. Just for,
That'd be pretty cool.
Just for, like, a game or so. The other one, too, it's like with Sniper Elite, too, is like, I was like... It would be cool to see that game could be like easily like a Vietnam game, or even just like a Pacific, you know, theater one where,
make a Carlos Hathcock game.
Yeah,
just fucking murdering fools in fucking Vietnam.
Yep. You know, and just being the sniper out there, which would be like fucking just, it'd be just a cool change up to everything. I do kind of have a theory, though, on why you don't see Pacific campaign stuff really anymore, as I feel like Japan's like, yo, if you're going to be using our fucking systems, you're not shooting a bunch of Japanese people on a game. I think
yeah, maybe,
because you almost never see it too often anymore. It's like, you know, of course, there was a period where, like, you know, you had like a couple of the Call of Duties and Medal of Honor games that did it, you know, and then Call of Duty 5 had it. And then after that, I think that was it, because I'm trying to think, did that Call of Duty World War II one have any Japanese stuff in it?
I think it was all Europe.
I think so too.
That's the other problem, is World War II always gets like, you know, it just always ends up all about Europe every fucking time.
And that's the thing.
The island campaigns are the coolest part of World War II, in my opinion.
I think so too. I'm 100% with that. You know, and I don't even know if sometimes it's like, is it just cooler because you just don't hear enough about them? Is like, and that makes them
no, they're just more gritty, dude. It's a place and like, you know, being former Army, I would never want to be a fucking Marine in World War II.
No,
fuck that.
Yeah, no. That's once again where I think about.
I would take Europe all day long. Fuck World War II, Japan, fighting in the goddamn jungle.
Yep.
No thanks.
That's where I kind of go, like, that's probably where my grandpa being in the Navy, that was the best way to go, because you'd be out at sea firing cannons from a distance.
Yeah. That was one of the stories my grandpa had, was he was plowing through jungle on his excavator, and then a rush came out, like some straggler fucking Japanese dudes that were just like, you know, it's time to die today. Like, I waited long enough. And they hit one of them, like ran up his excavator and hit him off of it. And he basically like hand-to-hand fought this dude and killed him with his helmet.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. And it was
that's
just
all
like,
he had was that helmet.
It just like knocked him off. And like his helmet was there on the ground next to him. He just used it. And that was just, and he was like, that was the jungle. That's what the jungle was.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, fuck that shit.
Yeah. And the thing, too, is they even say it's like, you know, like the Japanese themselves were not even used to jungle warfare. That was a brand new thing for them as well, too.
Right.
You know, it's like nobody went down there for stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like Japan's filled with a bunch of jungle or anything. So, yeah, everybody's out there figuring out how to, like, you know, go through this, like, treacherous zones. Yeah.
Yeah, suffering. I can't remember which island it was, but I was reading, I have a couple World War II island campaign books. I still have some I got to read, but it was an area where they had like a massive number of Cayman, and I guess there was a poor Japanese like company or something like that where like a large number of their dudes got schwacked by basically island crocodiles.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, dude, it's fucked up.
Yeah, you think that that's not like the issue, and then they're just like pulling people out left and right, you know, and those crocodiles are always sneaky, anyways.
Right. Yeah, fuck that shit, dude. World
Yeah.
War One's another place I would not want to be
No.
on any of the like fronts. The Eastern Front, fuck that. Western Front, no thanks. Gallipoli, hell no.
Yeah. Yeah, none of those other sections too, you know. Oh gosh. And then, or you can be in the U.S. part where you show up for the last year and just kick ass and call it a day.
Oh yeah, just fucking commit a bunch of war crimes with your shotgun.
It's going in
Make
there.
the Germans cry.
Yeah, exactly. After, you know, like England and, you know, France and everybody's been fighting for the last like 3 or 4 years.
All right. Just fucking come running in like banshees, just like, hell yeah, brother. Woo-hoo, got very heavy shot.
We can show you how this trench warfare was done. We were doing it in the Civil War.
Shit, motherfucker. Hold my beer, brother.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it'd just be kind of cool because there was a little bit of a resurgence though when they had like 1917 come out, and of course you had War Horse, and then
Fucking
you had
great movie.
I thought there was a third one. Maybe I'm just making that up.
They made there's a British miniseries. Let me find it so I could give you the name. British.
On World War One.
It's awesome. That's not it. Our World War.
Huh. Is it
It's fucking awesome.
is it like documentary style, or is it like
No, it's like a miniseries. I think it's like 4 episodes long or something like that. And it's like the beginning of the war with like the British Expeditionary Force. And it has like that first battle where, you know, like they're getting the machine guns out and they're like, the Hun's going to be coming this way.
uh-huh.
You know, and they're like, get all like, chaps, get your rifles ready. And they're just in a line. And the very first fight scene is just the Germans coming in formation, and they're just like shooting everything they got, right? Like they had the officer, he's like, let him get closer, man. Let him get closer. And he's like, fire. And they fire a volley. And then he's like, full cyclet, 5 rounds. And they're like doing like basically parade ground, like firing exercises. And then also it's like the group, the Expeditionary Force that the Brits sent out, highly experienced, like Irish and like Scots, I believe. Can't remember exactly. It's been a while since I've seen it. So like they're like cream of the crop, you know, experienced British soldiers, and they're just exhausting their ammo, killing waves of Germans, and the Germans just keep coming, and they have to like retreat.
Yeah.
And then the show just picks up from there, dude. And it's one of the best World War One things I've ever seen. It's fucking great.
Huh. No, I'll have to check that one out. I guess there was one other World War One. It's sort of there's the Young Indiana Jones series, but there's all the stuff where he's in World War One, which was always the part that I was the most interested in.
Right.
Because I'm like, that's just a cool concept, anyways.
It's so cool.
And some of those are like some of the best episodes are all the World War One Young Indiana Jones ones. And generally, overall, that show's pretty darn good. There's some kid episodes that are a little bit goofy, but beyond that, like when it's the dude from who plays young Indy when he's like that age. From Boondock Saints. Not Norman Reedus, but the other guy.
Yeah, the guy that no one remembers his name, who was basically
Patrick.
the main character.
Yeah, Patrick. Yeah, well, I'm trying to blank on him, but he pretty much plays young Indiana Jones. But they got some great episodes where he's in the World War One, and it's weird because it's like he joins, like he literally forges his way into like the Belgian army, so he kind of gets put in these like different kind of like campaigns and so on like that, not just like your normal ones, you know. And then there's a great one where they're like in Africa for like a 2-parter episode. And,
that's cool.
Yeah, one they're on like this like boat and everybody's getting like dying off from all these diseases and so on like that, and then the second one becomes like they have to get this train going. But even like since it's like one of those ones like George Lucas really put some fucking money into it, so like for even like a made for TV movie of the 90s, like the World War One scenes, yeah, really legitimate in there and so on like that. And there's probably all of maybe like 6 or 7 episodes in total that are all themed around that, because Indy's kind of going all over the place in that show. But yeah, all that stuff is fantastic. and really cool to see. Plus, just the idea that Indiana Jones is in World War I is just a cool concept in itself. You know
what I've always wanted was somebody to make like a mini series on. Are you hip on the old heavyweight boxer Jack Johnson?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I want to make sure, not Jack Johnson, the musician.
Yeah, stupid internet.
So Jack Johnson, at some point, because he was just a party animal, essentially took his girlfriend, his white girlfriend, during a time of peak racism, and goes over to Europe during World War One, and he's just like bopping around Europe. And I always thought that'd be hilarious. Like, one, a Jack Johnson miniseries would be dope because it's like a cool time period, and he's one of like there should be fucking statues of that man. Like, he is an American treasure.
Yeah, he's like one of those like total glorious classic boxers.
Well, he's awesome. He's like one of the most interesting like people from like American history. But just knowing that like a former champion heavyweight boxer who's black with his white girlfriend, which is totally frowned upon, and America is just bopping around Europe during World War I, drinking and partying.
Yeah, just
I don't know. It just sounds so fun.
Yeah, you just want to see what is all these stories that circle around this.
Right. I just always thought that'd be a fun like miniseries somebody should just make one day.
Yeah, just and make it with the fun in mind. I think that's the key thing, and just say like, hey, like, because you could try to do it like a hard drama, but I think it'd be better if you actually just made it like, oh no, he's literally just going around and having the time of his life because he can. Like, I like that.
Yeah, don't hold back. Make it raw. Make it like, as like true to like all the accounts that you can find.
Yeah, exactly. Just piece it all together and go from there. No, that'd be very interesting to see.
Right. It'd be fun. Learning about Jack Johnson's also what made me absolutely despise Jack London, the writer.
Oh, really?
And it's always fun when you tell English teachers and like English professors, and they're like, oh yeah, Jack London, and I'm just like, he's a bitch. Like that guy. They're like, what?
Yeah, the White Fang guy. That's about all I can remember.
Yeah. You don't like him? No, he's a piece of shit. They get all upset.
Yeah, well, it would do it to him. That's definitely, people seem to worship that guy for some reason. I don't know. It's that weird.
I don't get it.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a weird one. They pick like 10 authors that like for some reason, are higher above than everybody else. But
right.
Yeah.
Watching this movie does make me want to get the book that it's based on. Since it's not based off, Iron Maiden's not connected to this at all, but there is a book connected to it.
Yeah, the book would probably be pretty interesting just to add in more details and all that kind of stuff. I'm still really interested in what that play that they made of it was like, because how do you do? I mean,
the air battles.
I'm assuming you just don't do that part, I guess, but that's kind of weird. It's like you're missing half of like the movie, But at the same time, I'm curious. I like, and if they do the air battles in play form, I really want to see that.
I like to imagine they're in black like leotards and they're holding up like little model airplanes. They're like,
if that was the case, I'm sold on that part. Like, I just want to see.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, dude.
They just got to commit. That's it. Whatever they choose to do, I don't care if they dress up as planes, have little models or anything like that. I just want them to commit to it really hard. Make me believe, But I would definitely like to like see more of this and kind of like hear more of the story because it is very interesting.
Right. Well, like we've been, bringing up over and over again, it's something that's just not, given enough light.
Yeah.
World War I doesn't get enough, and then World War I fighter pilots, the original fighter pilots, you get nothing on that.
Well, what's the interesting thing too I think about is I remember when we were kids, there were still literally World War I guys left alive.
It was fucking nuts.
Yeah. And then, I mean, there's people from the 1800s still alive when we were kids, which is kind of strange when you think about that. But, you know, and then now it's like there's none of them around anymore. So that's it.
No, they're all gone. They're all gone.
And even the World War II ones are pretty darn close to that, too, you know?
Yeah, they're pretty much all died off, or there's only a handful left.
Yeah, so it's weird, kind of like when you're going through that, where it's like, oh, like there was a time period where, yeah, you could still find a World War I veteran somewhere if you looked hard enough, and not anymore.
Right.
You
Dude,
know?
also watching this movie, it made me remember, you know, I'm colorblind, so I could never be a pilot. It was never in my cards.
You probably could in World War I.
I know, right? It probably would have worked out.
Yeah, you know, I mean, as long as you can see red, I guess, is well it matters.
Right. But, you know, you remember going to, like, those field trips to, like, aerospace museums or whatever the fuck you would go to, and they would have those flight simulators?
Yes.
And how awesome they were?
They're so badass, you know.
Oh, man. That's something this movie captures, because all the cockpit views, they're, like, very raw. You know what I mean? It's not like a Top Gun Maverick or, you know, I can't think of any other like plane movies off the top of my head to where that cockpit view, it's usually way more chaotic, right? This one was almost like, you know, you could kind of see what the fuck was going on.
Yeah, no.
You could follow along with it.
Yeah, because you had the nice locked off shots and so on like that. And the thing too is just how interesting is like those planes is there's nothing really in there. It's just like, yep, here's the stick, you know, here's like your
right. Here's a couple gauges.
Yeah, here's a couple gauges. They may or may not work, and you know, here's your throttle and a couple pedals, and that's about all there is.
Here's your 14 hours of flight training time. Have at it, boy.
Yeah, and here you go. Figure it out. You know, if anything's gonna happen, it's gonna happen up there.
Right.
And yeah, as I said, that's just one of those ones where there's something kind of just so cool. I just think those planes and everything about it, like, it has such a cool aesthetic, you know. And in this movie, it's shot so well. That's the thing, is that like it really takes you into the moment, you know, and just the whole world building of it there, watching the characters and everything like that, and what they have to go through, and something that just doesn't get captured good enough. As I said, like, you know, if they did it nowadays, of course, they'd throw a lot of CG in there and so on like that. And there's kind of a place for that, but like, I love being able to see real stuff, and that's what makes, you know, always, like, especially a 70s movie really cool, is that the fact that, like, yeah, they're going to dial it in and make it, you know, a fantastic film.
Right, especially something like that. I mean, the skill involved with those stunts that they were pulling off, it was incredible.
Yeah. You know, it really is something, but it's definitely one that I think people need to go and check out. You can watch Aces High. It's on Amazon. Now, don't be confused, because they do have this goofy thing that it says it's 2015, though it's a 1976 movie. And I remember we were texting earlier today, and you just want to make sure that you watch the right one, which has happened on the podcast before, where someone's watched like the remake and everybody else watched the classic one, or vice versa. So it's not out of the question, but yeah, it's a weird one that, like, I'm surprised they don't correct that, because I've ran across that multiple times on Amazon, where like you can tell it's like that's the upload date, that whoever put it up was, you know, in 2015, and then nobody in, for some reason, 10 years has figured out that, like, hey, you know, maybe we should fix this movie date, because that's kind of confusing when it says that, you know, and you can totally tell that it's not 2015 unless they just happen to find this movie like in a warehouse, like, oh yeah, here it is, it's been lost for this long.
Dude, Amazon don't give a fuck. They're like, who cares?
Yeah, they're gonna watch it anyways. You know what I mean? Well, then again,
or not watch it, and it's just gonna like fill up.
Yeah, they're just gonna fill up. You know what I mean? Because it's just generally anybody who's probably watching Aces High knows what they're getting into, so like they can kind of like decipher that it's you know, an older flick, and that's the one they wanted, and so on. But yeah, right. But whatever, it's on there. It's worth checking out. The aerial scenes are amazing. You get all the glorious World War II or World War I, you know, kind of characters and setup and the looks there. You get the artillery, you know. It
holds up. It's not going to be one of those older war films, like, great movie, a bridge too far, but there's parts in it where you're like, this is kind of silly.
Yeah, well,
not so much on this one.
No, this one I think holds up really strong. I think it's action-packed because I think that's sometimes a complaint I guess some people would probably have to some older war movies is that sometimes there's not enough action in them, and, it depends, depending on what you're looking for. But this one has, like, a lot. I mean, there's at least about 3 to 4 really solid, aerial dogfight scenes and so on like that. And then all the stuff in between keeps you totally engaged anyways.
A great amount of character development for a span of time of only 1 week.
Yeah. Yeah, and the whole point though is like it's interesting because it's the whole concept's like the 1 week thing, and the fact that it's just going to keep rolling over like some kind of like weird Twilight Zone thing, but it's like no, this is just real life,
Yeah.
It just repeats, every single week until this war is over, and I think that captures it really well in this, and so
it really does.
And I can't say any more good things about it because it's just. I thought this one was just one of those fantastic films that, like, just when I was done watching it, you're like, man, I feel like it's one of those ones you're going to think about this for a long time. You take it in, and I feel like it'll only get better the more I think about it as well.
Right. It has an impact. It definitely does.
Especially with that ending and everything like that, it's just done so well. But
and if anything, give you a little bit more of a perspective of World War One. An area that is overlooked if you don't like James Franco, so you don't watch Flyboys.
Yeah, because that's the only modern one I think you really got. You got the Flyboys, and if not, you got to go like way back in time to, to see this, or go even farther of like Dawn Patrol, and there's some other ones here and there, but yeah.
Right.
But check out Ace is High. It's badass, totally worth the time. One of the greatest little war movies I've seen in a long time. But till then, you can check out all the other good stuff of Old Man Orange podcast and the comics and all that good stuff, and the link tree will lead you to it all. I'll put that in the description. Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And Josh.
And we'll see you some other time.